I think about the transition for me, it was a quick one as well for me. I was in the midst of, as they say, at the twilight of a very mediocre golf career on the professional side. And but life is funny. The week that, well, I had a stint, a couple weeks off. I decided to come visit some of my old friends that lived in Palo Alto. I reconnected with my predecessor, asked him if I could practice a little bit, made a stop in and had a quick cup of coffee with Ted Leland, who was the athletic director when I was here as a student athlete. And I knew that there was some scuttlebutt about my predecessor moving on. And so we just had a quick connection, but there was no formal discussion of coaching whatsoever. I was playing on the web.com tour at the time, which is like AAA baseball and golf. And so sure enough, I get a sponsor's exemption back in my home state of Minnesota to play on the web.com event. Have this really nice week. I finished third in the event, but at the same time, I get a call from Ted Leland saying, we've talked to some of your old teammates, and your name keeps coming up as a potential candidate for this open job I'm going to have in a month or two. Would you consider coming out to interview? And I laughed. I said, Ted, I don't know. I really have never. I thought that coaching would be a fun job, but I have knowing what candidates you might interview, I felt like I was way out of my league. I said, you either don't have much money to pay, or you care a lot about football and not so much about golf. And we had a good laugh about that. But he said, Conrad, I appreciate that you're passionate about Stanford and you're passionate about the place and everything that we stand for. He said, the other thing I like about you, and it was a compliment at the time, and I still use it with my team, is that it seems to me like you're a guy that can come to me with answers, not questions, and that was something that stuck with me a long time, and great foreshadowing for what lies ahead. But long story short, I end up coming out to interview, and my wife, I was newly married, I was on the tour, the first year of marriage without kids, thankfully, 35 weeks away, and I kind of started to see the writing on the wall and had this neat opportunity come up, and so I interviewed and amazingly got the job, and so I loaded up a U-Haul and I said, Jennifer, we're going to the West Coast. She had never been west of the Mississippi, and
Really?
So she's a good old Kentucky girl, and as they say, and I'm a Minnesota guy, but we were living on the East Coast, and I said, okay, let's go back to Stanford and see what that's like.